Okay, let's move on to another interesting position, and this is linebacker. Um, there's a lot. It's almost impossible on June 12th to project the linebackers because we don't know the status of Anthony Walker. We don't know the status of Sione Takitaki, and especially Takitaki because he suffered his injury in Houston in December, and that was a torn ACL. So we just don't know where these guys are going to be by the end of August. It's kind of similar to Jakeem Grant, even coming off that ruptured Achilles. So I kept five linebackers. I kept Matthew Adams and Tony Fields. So those guys would sort of make it for their special teams ability. And Matthew Adams was one of the guys that they've signed, I would think, to be a Bubba Ventrone special teamer. And then JOK, Sione Takitaki, and Anthony Walker. And that meant that I had to leave Jacob Phillips out. Would Jacob Phillips get cut in favor of a special teams type of player like a Tony Fields or a Matthew Adams? Or do you think they still see something in him?
This is a tough one because I see Jacob Phillips making the football team. This is where you part ways with a Nick Harris instead of a Jacob. I think that Jacob's going to make the roster. Once again, third round pick, that's pretty high. You don't want to give up on your third round picks. He hasn't had a chance to show what he can do yet because he's been injured. He's got to prove that he can stay healthy. But I do think that they like him and they see big things for him if he can stay on the field. So this is one of those spots where you make another tough choice somewhere else, such as that defensive end spot with a Thomas or something like that, and you keep, or Nick Harris, and you keep a Jacob Phillips.
Yeah, this is where it gets. This is just where it gets tough. And
Yeah.
again, maybe he gets on there because Taki's not ready or Walker's not ready or something like that. I get that. All of this is hard on June 12th. And really doesn't mean a whole lot on June 12th. But this position is really hard when you're dealing with guys coming back from injuries. And we should mention Jacob Phillips as well, coming back from injury, although we were able to see him on the field a little bit over the spring. Also left Jordan Kanashik off, a guy that, special teams guy. Maybe you see him on the practice squad, but that it gets crowded in that room, especially if like linebacker isn't going to be a real point of emphasis for this defense.
Well, one of the things that you could possibly do is you might be able to play around with injured reserve a little bit at the beginning of the season and throw a couple of those injured linebackers on injury reserve for a while and hang on to your Jordan Kanashiks and players like that you might ultimately have to do something else with. But because of those injuries, you might have a little wiggle room there.
Okay, we can really get into the weeds if we want to.